When cutting silk, it can be so frustrated because silk is typically very slippery. So I usually use this product. It's a free spray. Just need to spray it on the wrong side of the patterns, stick them on the fabric, and then just cut the fabric out. Since they only stick temporarily, you can easily tear them out after cutting and store them away for future use. Next up is wrapping the baby hem for the back piece. I double fold the hem by 0.5 and then give it a nice press. Because I'm working with silk, so I prefer to iron it down after each fold. I found it just much easier to manipulate the fabric. When you're showing the hemline, make sure to keep the stitch nice and close to the edge, like around 2 millimeters. Now with the right side together, show the crotch piece and the front lining piece together. You notice there are 2 notches on the front piece. This will help you to align the front piece with the lining. So make sure to put the right sides together and show only the 2 sides of the front piece, leaving the waistline and the bottom line open. In order to keep the lining from rolling toward the outside, we're gonna do an understitch. So take the right side and push all of the seam allowance towards the lining. Then stitch as close to the edge as you can. Make sure when you stitch, your stitch stays on the lining side and includes all layers of the seam allowance. With the right side of the back piece facing the right side of the front piece, insert the back piece into the whole front piece, making it like a sandwich, that the back piece is in the middle. Then stitch them all together at the crotch line. Next, we will attach one side of the waistband to the bodies. There are multiple notches along the waistband to give you the guide so you can pin them to the bodies. The 2 ends of the waistband should be shown together before, but I forgot to do it, so yeah, just please go ahead and show them together. You're going to take it into the sewing machine and show a 0.7 cm seam allowance along the front and the back waistline. The front piece has 2 layers, so make sure to sew through all of the layers. At this step, I like to trim the seam allowance to reduce the bulk effect. This also will help the process of inserting elastic band after. Next, you will need to iron the waistband to prepare to sew the other side to the bodies. In order to do this, fold the 2 sides of the waistband towards the wrong side of the fabric by 0.7, pin them together. You can use the notches to double check if you align the 2 sides of the waistband correctly or not. When it reaches to the bodice part, just push all of the seam allowance upward and nicely lay the waistband on top. Try to cover up the seam nicely, then pin them together. Now you need to sew all along the waistband. Try to keep your needle near to the edge, and at the end you should leave a gap around 2 cm. This hole gonna help us to insert the elastic band. I like to use a safety pin, and I've been through one end of the elastic, then push the safety pin into the casing. Here you can feel the end of the safety pin and slide it forward, gathering up the fabric, then pulling the excess fabric back behind the pin. Continue like that, inching each through the waistband until it appears on the other end of the tunnel. Once you have created a complete loop with the waistband, it is a good idea to give it a few pulls to stretch it out and just have to distribute the gathers evenly. In order to close the elastic band, just simply overlapping them and using a zigzag stitch in order to attach them together. It can be a bit tricky to close the gap left in the waistband, so make sure to keep pulling the waistband to make it easier to sew. This is optional, but I like to add a top stitch to the waistband because after several washes, I am sure that the elastic can be twisted. So I like to add a top stitch. And don't be lazy to iron your piece after each step. I've been there, I know. Sometimes you really want to see a fast result and you omit the ironing step, but this is so crucial. I like to steam down the gathers to help them stay nicely. So that's it for today's tutorial, and there she is, a cute, dreamy French style panties that I promise you is super comfy. I hope you find it useful and will give it a try. Don't forget to tag me if you want to show your finished piece. I would love to see it and hear about your experience. Thank you and see you.